Good evening, everybody. So Brian Bell says my intro makes him think of superheroes, and I'm joined by two superheroes of BookTube today, here to talk about Daniel Abraham's A Shadow of Summer, which is the first book in the Long Price Quartet, which is a book that Alan, mirthless on the screen here, has been telling us about for years. He's known as the Long Price Prophet, I think is what they call you, Alan. But John and I are newbies. So, John and I started this buddy read, and we reached out to Alan and said, hey, we're going to do this. We'd love to have some chats with you. And we just decided this week we're going to have one for every book. So here we are. But I figure we'll go ahead and just get started and talk about the book a little bit spoiler-free, so that any of you in the chat, like I saw Master Sal needs to be convinced, so we're going to convince him to read the book. But we're going to start spoiler-free, talk about kind of the general things that make this a really good book, because all three of us really enjoyed it, and then we'll dig into spoilers a little bit after that. So Alan and John, welcome, first of all. And let's just start, John, let's start with you. We'll have maybe John, your spoiler-free thoughts, and then mine, and then Alan, since you're on the reread. So John, go ahead. What are your spoiler-free thoughts on A Shadow in Summer?
I mean, first of all, that intro gets me amped up, man. Brian is
need
so
an
right.
Intro, guys.
You do need an intro. You deserve an intro, Alan. And
I don't know how to make them.
if I'm a superhero, I'm the Gleek to the Justice League. That's all. I just got to put that out there. Okay. So here's what I love about this book. Number one, the compression, because in 250 pages, what Daniel Abraham pulls off is stunning. Character arcs that have a purpose and emotionality that tracks for an intellectual reader that understands the motivation of why they would do that and the decisions they would make and where they end up and how they are changed. Shoes that drop, surprises that happen, and it's never on the coincidental side. You're always with a jaw hanging open going, oh, that's good, as opposed to, oh, that's a little bit too coincidental. The world building is completely concrete. It is tangible. It is real. It is a place that you could not only live in, but see the dirt in the corners. Every bit of culture and history and a large part of it is dealing with a magic system being used as in like a business endeavor. I'm trying to be as vague as possible. So that just lends to this actual believability factor that I found just enthralling. And it surprises galore. Like characters that I thought at first were going to be 250 pages. That's going to be a periphery character. They might have one or two scenes. Ended up being some of my favorite characters of the book with an amazing arc, with this tragedy at the heart of it. It's like what this holds in 250 pages is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Put it really well there, John. That is one thing that's really impressive to me. There's a place for non-epic fantasy. I don't think every fantasy needs to be a 20-book series that are like 700, 800 pages. I think there's a place for this, and I think the concise storytelling is certainly a strength of this.
Yes.
250, 270 pages. What's most remarkable to me is the world building that you get in that amount. For me, world building has always been one of my favorite things about the fantasy genre. I mean, that's one reason why Tolkien is one of my favorites to this day, is just the depth of the world building. And as I was reading early on in this book, it's such a fun thing for me when I'm reading a new author and 50 pages in, I just think, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Because I love the writing. He's not an author that like the writing isn't like top tier, that it draws yourself to it, but it's
really not in the way.
It doesn't get in the way. It doesn't draw attention to itself, but it's not simplistic or anything like that. The economy that you talk about, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more deeply, but I think the exploration of the culture side of the world building, including the language, which was one of my favorite things in this book, helped make this concise. Like one of the things, this is a high context language where mannerisms and posture and things like that are just as important, if not more important, than what you say.
Yeah.
So like a character can take a pose of acquiescence and you don't have to write a paragraph about what that character is conveying. You can just put that pose in there. And I know it's probably hard for our Western brains to wrap our minds around it in this Eastern inspired setting.
People hate it.
It helps make the narrative real tight, you know?
Yes.
And I love that aspect of it.
And it gives it a sense of foreign flavor and otherness and a transporting feeling for you that you're somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I did like the pacing. I thought it was I haven't watched any reviews, but I would guess that might be an area that people might not like. They might think it's slow because the plot is,
I think it's slow.
It's kind of a slow burn, but it's I don't mind that. I mean, I love Robin Hobb. So, I mean, slow burn's kind of my jam when you're getting other things. And I think you were getting so much here of getting all of the world building and culture and some great character arcs, 4 of them that really stand out for me that, I don't know, I really love this book. It feels like a setup book. So that makes me even more excited to continue, knowing how much I enjoyed this first one.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And I read this, and then I read the second book, and then I had 6 months before I read the third book. And after I read, I was like, why did I do that? Because books 1 and 2 are set up, and then books 3 and 4 are a payoff. And rereading it, I like it even more because I know where it's going, and I can see, I can notice things that I didn't know were important prior. But I love Daniel Abraham is one of my favorite authors, and this is one of my favorite series because the way that Daniel Abraham handles character work, and I've read his Dagger and Coin series, which is a more traditional fantasy, and then the first one in the new sci-fi series, the Mercy of Gods, and he does the same. Oh, and the first 2 books of his Kithamar trilogy. The third one's not out yet, and the same thing. His character work always, to me, feels like these are real people in extraordinary situations.
Yes.
They make decisions that are terrible.
Yes.
And they're terrible. And it's just like, no, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But it never feels like it is not the exact thing that person would do. He has drawn they are so human with all of the human foibles and all of the flaws and hopes and dreams of like regular people, even if they've got, these powers like the poets in this.
Yes.
They are so, I just feel like I've been dropped ground level, like in this world. And like, these are people you can recognize yourself and you can recognize other people in them. And he just has a really magic way of doing that in everything I've read with him. It's what makes him one of my favorite authors, and it starts here. And there are thanks, Atticus. Atticus agrees. Much of the
he's with you.
Much of the main cast are young people, and they behave like young people. And they are one of the complaints that people have is that these teenagers are annoying. Have you met teenagers? Like, have you met teenagers? Like that's their default status. And these kids behave just like my teenagers that I teach. And, and so it's just so, I don't know. It's just so great being back here. And the way that Abraham says things that it just hits in my marrow. Just there's some of his turn of phrase. And when he's talking about themes, like especially toward the end, I got a couple pages bookmarked. It just, I don't know, like reading this book, I feel sadness and sorrow and hope, but also despair. And he just runs the gamut of just these people going through these situations. And I agree with everything y'all said. Like I completely agree. And when I finished the series, I looked back at it in retrospect and appreciated everything that came before. Like he's building things that we don't even realize that he's building until later. It's like, oh my gosh, dang. So I'm so glad that y'all enjoyed it. People do bounce off of the poses. A lot of people say it's showing, not telling. I don't know what the difference between taking a pose of agreement and he nodded is. Those seem like the same to me, right? And also the also the fact that people say it's boring, which I mean, I get it. Like, I can understand how people would say that. I disagree. Like, I strenuously disagree. I think it's absolutely fascinating, and the concept of the andats is both just fascinating and terrifying. The fact that these ideas made abstract are bound in humanoid form, and yet possess the power to just
Change the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Create catastrophic disaster. It's I don't know. It's just wonderful.
Even just the personification of an abstract idea is such a interesting concept.
Yes, I love the magic system. Love,
Yeah.
love, maybe one of my favorite magic systems of all time. And I really want to get into it and discuss why, because I know what I'm going to say is going to resonate so much with both of you. So I can't wait.
I think it's also still kind of a soft magic system,
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
what I like.
It is. It's not rigorously ruled, but
yeah, I mean, it tells you enough that you understand, but it doesn't, over explain like
he never explains the grammar. You just understand that there's the grammar, and the poets study it. And okay.
I thought of this one as well. That's one thing I really liked in The Wheel of Time, is how Robert Jordan in the fighting had all the poses, instead of saying he slashed left, he slashed right, he, did all of those things. And I think it's nice. It's a really elegant way to convey something. And I loved it. I mean, Alan, you were saying before we got started that you said that's a common critique of this story, and
this has like 3.57 on Goodreads.
I saw that. I was shocked.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Not at a 4. It's not at a 4.
It's out of 5. Like it's 3.57 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's not right.
There's a mighty storm outside. If I disappear, it's because the power went out.
Gotcha. I hope that doesn't happen, but understood. One of the things I love about the poses is, number one, it gives me that I so much gives me the Eastern inspiration, the feel that this is obviously Asian inspired.
The tea houses, the bath
houses.
Yes,
all of that, but also there's such a rich cultural history there of how far you bow at certain situations, and these poses for me fit right in. And not only were they an interesting way of drawing me into the Eastern inspired bit of it, but also the dichotomy of it, because there are times when someone's saying one thing and they're using a pose for a different, an interesting dichotomy. And it's almost like you get an inner monologue in the physical aspect, which I found fascinating.
That's a great observation. That's right on.
Yeah.
I think the world building in general was, again, one of the strengths I thought of this story. One thing I really like is, a lot of times when I see kind of an Eastern inspired setting, it's just straight up Japanese.
Yeah.
And that's all they do. But I didn't feel that here. I felt that it just felt a little bit more, I don't want to use the word generic because that seems like a negative connotation, but it felt more, I guess, more general, that it didn't feel like a specific culture, but it felt like its own. If that makes any sense. It didn't feel like it was just stealing everything from Japanese type culture.
A big complaint is how often they use the poses, which, if anyone is concerned about that, it gets less and less as it goes on, because Abraham understands that you get that they're doing poses. And so he does it when it's necessary. Like it's like when it's one of those where it's a respect thing, like certain levels of bowing, or they're conveying something different than what they're saying with their poses, because he trusts that you understand that they are still doing these things. It's not book 3 of Mistborn where I'm still being told that someone throws down a coin and pushes off of it after I've read that for 1,000 pages. So that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely trusts the reader a lot more. And I didn't feel any hand holding, which I don't know. I've been seeing that in works lately, and it's really bothered me when the author doesn't trust me. And I felt
it's a challenging book to kind of get your head around to start with, because it just throws you in, because it's also got the honorifics at the end, like cha or cha. So that's another complaint people had. Like, I don't know what any of that means. It's like, have you never seen an anime? Like
how? And the it's a little bit of reverse of the name, and then there's an honorific, and
Yeah.
But that, again, that should just be transportive. And if I wanted to read something in my neighborhood, I certainly could, but there are times when you want to branch a little further out. I agree. I think there's not a lot of hand holding, and it's very focused on more of a thinking reader, because I mean, this harkens back to tragedy in the Grecian sense. I mean, this is you're not going to have a lot of high set piece action moments, but you're going to see a tragedy unfold as if you bought a ticket at the Globe Theater. Like it's truly beautiful. And in that human element of interaction between us, and it's supremely well done.
Sal, this is a book about a city whose major crop, like major source of the economy, is the cotton trade. And it is the main source of cotton because it has what's called an andat, named Seedless, that removes the seeds from cotton instantly. So because they can harvest more and faster, they are the number one source, and that's the source of their economic like power. There is also a nation across the sea that does not have the ability to summon these andats, that is trying to break into that trade, trying to like decrease their economic superpower-ness, and so is kind of conspiring to end that or cripple it somehow. Even though they trade in this city called Sarakat, and it's just about people working in Sarakat and trying. I mean, that's the macro plot, but then it's about this lady who is second in command for the house, the foreign house. But she's from Sarakat. She's just in the foreign house. And then some teenagers trying to figure their life out.
Yeah. I mean, the city is setting the city where they've cornered the entire textile industry. I mean, the dyeing happens there. The building of garments happens there because they've cornered the cotton market. So you have this entire industry cornered here, and then you have some young people trying to find their way, like they would in a big city, like any, we've seen this story a million times. And then you see the economic strife and the maneuvering and posturing between the two powers to see if we can break this stranglehold.
Yeah.
And what they do to break it just could possibly, you say nothing happens, people say it's boring and nothing happens. What they do to break it just could possibly unravel society writ large.
That's the only
region.
Reason. That's the only reason that I really do understand. For some people, that particular scene, it's too much. Like it is too triggering. And so I do understand when people put it down for that reason. It is, I mean, because it's monstrous.
Yeah.
Like, there's some monstrous.
As bad as it gets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else do we want to say spoiler free? Because I want to talk about Seedless.
There's just, there's so many themes, like sorrow, grief, justice, justice and mercy, and what it means to apply those. Like justice is hard, and like a character says. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the character says toward the end. It is weird how strange it is that love and injustice happen to be intermarried, and so it's just good stuff. I'm eager to talk spoilers. And
there's kind of four main characters here. 3 are teenagers, and then 1 is a middle-aged woman who I loved.
Yes,
Amat's the best.
He was amazing. Just the best. Yeah, and that is unique too. You don't see characters like this that are necessarily, I mean, you see teenagers in fantasy, but like a middle-aged woman who's a fantastic character. But even just kind of the roles that the teenagers had in the story, they had some incredible character arcs throughout the book. And there's just some really great, just slow character development throughout that you don't realize till you get to the end. Then you think everything that went through, it's pretty masterful. As for Sal, we're reading 1 per month. So anybody else curious, like I mentioned to Ben in the chat, we're reading 1 per month. These are only 250, 300 page books. Yeah. So mine's like get caught up. So.
Mine's 320. My actual like hardback is 320.
Yeah. And that's about it. I have the other omnibus. I have the 2-volume
gotcha
editions.
The Shadow and Betrayal, and then
Yeah, John got the nice one. I've been looking for that forever.
I got the big. You know what? I have to thank Andrew at Andrew's Wizardly Reads, because he saw this on sale on Pango and said, "Dude, you should buy this." And it's like, okay,
you must have got it. I have a saved search for Daniel Abraham, and
that's the version. That's the version I had to start with. And after I read the series, I was like, I need these books individually in hardcover, because I also really like the kind of like stylistic art on it by, I think it's Stephen Martineri or something like that. I don't know, but like it's just super like stylized, and this just gives you the scope of Saraket here. It's massive. So I love them. So I'm reading them individually this time instead of in the bind up.
Cool. Anything else we want to say spoiler free before we move into spoilers?
No, read the book, man.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, both of us, the newbies, really enjoyed it. I wanted to go, we're doing the read along. I wanted to jump right into book 2, but knew I had to wait till the next month. So, I mean, that kind of tells you how my reception was.
So. And you definitely should not read the one until we've had the discussion for the previous one, because stuff that happens in the following books will color your discussion of the ones we're on.
I mean, I'm starting like Wednesday or Thursday.
Very
like
cool.
I waited till this month, but I'm not going to wait. I'm going to start really soon.
I love book 2. It's very cold. It's very cold. Like that's another thing Abraham's really good at. I feel how hot it is and how humid it is in Saraket. And he does the same thing in Betrayal in Winter. I don't like reading it because I'm cold. I am cold when I read it because he's just that good.
Nice. All right. Well, I am putting this banner up here. Spoiler alert. So let's talk spoilers. If you're leaving us for spoilers, go read the book and then come out and watch the rest of the chat on replay, as they call it.
Samwise, get out, Samwise. Is this the place I come to say Seedless did nothing wrong?
Yeah. So here's a spoiler comment.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can empathize with him.
Seedless is so. I know you want to talk about him, Josh. He's so creepy. I was always unsettled.
Yes, and I found him probably the most fascinating character, entity, whatever you want to call it, in this book. Just the whole idea of what he is, and especially as you learned, it's interesting because he even had an arc. The arc was us. The arc was learning about him and learning about how, kind of the insecurities of his poet, Hashai, I think his name was, just made, the issues that he had kind of paramount to his being. And that was something that we learned along the way. But yeah, I found that Seedless was absolutely just, every time he was on the screen, he was was where my focus was.
Yes. Here's what I love about this whole magic system, and Seedless is at the crux of it, right? I love that this harkens back all the way back. I mean, to Adam and Eve, Rumpelstiltskin. Like, if you know the true name of something, you can possess power over it. I love that they call the magic users poets, that they agonize over just the right text and terms and ideology to get them onto paper so they can give physical form to this concept or this idea, right? And how can they do that? Magic costs. There can't be something from nothing. So how do they give a physical form to this concept or idea? It's something from themselves. They have to give up a bit of themselves to birth it. It's like when you have a child, you watching your heart walk on the outside of your body because you've birthed this from your very being, from your very self. And now it's part of you out there that is in slavery and servitude to keep the textile industry here. And everyone that has ever with music or theater or writing ever had an artistic journey or tried to get something out there, once the people pay money and buy tickets, it's out of your control and you don't even know what you've done until they tell you afterwards, if they're nice enough to. Like, this just spoke to me on such a visceral level. I absolutely adored everything about this magic system in Seedless.
John, this is why you have more subs than me, because you are so passionate about this stuff. I mean, you know, like from own recognize their own. I agree. Like, I love this magic system. Several things. One, I love that it reflects the heart of the poet, that it is not a perfect creation, because the poet has to be tranquil inside, because we see this. Seedless wants to destroy Heshai because Heshai hates himself, and he didn't work through that when he summoned Seedless, and so Seedless hates Heshai, and that is what I would summon, because I have such self-loathing that if I summoned Seedless, if I summoned Mirthless would be trying to ruin me.
But like, Alan, like I said, this goes back to the basic tenets of tragedy. This is going all the way back to the themes that Ibsen laid down and the themes of the father in Ghosts. Like, there's so much weight here in this story. It's aimed at somebody that has immersed themselves in story and emotionality.
For sure.
It's not just the first book you want to pick up on a journey.
Well, I also like that Seedless is a different iteration than that original concept. When the poets lose their andat, it becomes harder to grab that one, because you can't really bind the same idea the same way. You have to give it same form. So the original one harvested the cotton. It didn't remove the seeds. I forget what it was called, but it harvested the cotton. And then I guess they had to remove the seeds themselves, but it still created. Now they have to pick the cotton, and then Seedless removes the seeds. But it's doing the same thing in a different way. And I love that. And that's why they're so concerned about losing Seedless, because they don't know how they would rebind him in a different way. And there's a cost if you fail to do it. They talk about the flood one, that the water running down, that they captured like 3 separate times, and someone tried to re-grab it, and their body was bloated with seawater because they just failed, and it killed them instantly. So I love that as well. Like, I'm
and if something happens to Heshai, then someone else has to attempt to capture it, and you know, and that's going to change it as well, because you have to bring a bit of yourself, your inner being, to recapture it, so it could morph yet again.
And that's the thing. If they're able to bind Seedless, he's not going to be Seedless. He's going to
he'll be different. Yes.
Which is fascinating to me, and I hope that happens, because I love this character, and I hope that when we see this iteration, I have so many questions. Like, is he going to remember his experience as Seedless? Will he be a totally new thing, or you know, what's going on with that?
The next book is 16 years later.
Oh wow, okay.
So let me take Alan, are we going to these characters that are teens, right? Are we going to get to see their world change as they grow and move through this world? Is that kind of what's going to be happening?
Abraham does a story of people's lives over 50 years.
Okay.
And he does it better than almost anyone else I've seen. The world changes, the people change. You know, people leave and are replaced and all this kind of stuff. And it's like there's 16 years between each book.
Yeah. That was one of the draws for me to initially read it, actually, because, you know, my love for Hobb, and you get the 3 Fitz trilogies, where one he's a teenager, and then one he's a man, and one he's an old man.
Oh, this is just like that. It's awesome.
Yeah. So right away when I heard that, I was like, oh, count me in. I want to read this.
But it's even going back to some of the great Russian writers and others that like tell a story of that part of the world through generations, through the eyes of these people that are just at the crux of a crossroads of a country or an area. And I saw that there's so much that you see like being woven into this. You know, it's obviously Asian inspired, but I mean, it struck me, coming from the American South that I do, that they're basically cornering the cotton trade through servitude and slavery. But
John, is it slavery when Seedless isn't real? Like, is Seedless a person?
Yes, he is.
Seedless is a concept.
Yeah. That's what I loved about it.
So now you're topical. Now you can move it into even what we're struggling with in AI. It's so malleable as a story because it's truly brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just he's an idea personified.
Yes.
So does that
personified?
Yeah. Is he still just an idea though? I loved how they just locked him in a box for a while.
Oh,
torture
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, at the end, yes. Oh,
because
how brutal
the
was
guy,
that?
like, he couldn't be trusted to be on his own.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he's out trying to literally ruin his creator's life. Like, literally.
Yeah.
But I mean, is the creature a person that wants to ruin Dr. Frankenstein's life? He is personified. Seedless is personified. Like, Seedless is personified. So he has his own agency. He has his own plans. He has his own hopes. He has his own dreams. He has his own desires.
Seedless is an a-hole.
I'm not saying they're good desires.
But the subtle part, you already touched upon it, Alan, is just that, like, so much of the bad side of Seedless is because of Heshai. Just his insecurities and his maybe just not ready to be the poet to bind Seedless at that time.
Yeah.
And but that added such a layer to it. It's just mind blowing. And I just love that it's, I hate saying the words magic system because I hate hard magic and magic system, but this is like top tier for me.
You truly could look at it as servitude or slavery or industrial or the incoming of industrialization. Or, I mean, there's so many different things that you could look at because it's actually all about expediency. Like, yes, Heshai had to do it before he was ready, before he was truly ready to do it as a poet because of the expediency needed in this area of the world to corner the market. And he was pushed to do it.
I do hope in the coming series that we meet more andat and it's not just this one, because I'd be curious to see different situations of different andat bound by different poets and what their roles would be, in the society. I mean, I'm guessing because it felt like a setup book for me. Like, we're setting up this conflict between these two nations and seeing what's next. It's kind of hard to predict.
Well, it's easy to forget that his name is Seedless. That's what they call him. But his real name is removing the part that continues, which is how he's able to do what he does. I call it the inciting incident, the sad trade. Yeah. And how, like, the part toward the end where Heshai is talking to Mati, and Mati is saying that, like, there needs to be justice for what happened to, like they need to go and tell the Kai, like, that it's the Galtic's fault. And, Heshai's like, justice? Gods, boy, you want justice? We have larger problems than that, you and I. Getting through another year without one of these small gods flooding a city or setting the world on fire. That's important. Keeping the city safe. Playing court politics so the Kayim never decide to take each other's toys and women by force. And you want to add justice to all that? I've sacrificed my life to a world that wouldn't care less about me as a man if you paid it. You and I, both of us, were cut from our brothers and sisters. That boy from Udon who we saw in the court was slaughtered by his own brother, and we applauded him for doing it. Am I supposed to punish him too? You're supposed to do what's right. What we do is bigger than right and wrong. If the Dyke Vo didn't make that clear to you, consider it your best lesson for me. Because they are, like, the Andat are analogous to nuclear weapons. Like,
they're weapons of mass destruction.
The world.
Yeah.
And I understand, because I am someone for whom justice matters a great deal. And the people responsible for taking this woman's, like, I can't think of, like, a worse scenario. Just absolutely awful. But Heshai's right. Like, Galt, the Kayim will obliterate Galt if they find out. Like, and
I love that exchange, because it also has kind of the impetuousness and the ideal, the idealism of the youth with the seasoned experience, pragmatism of the mentor figure, who's not a great mentor, but he's very pragmatic and he's very, very flawed, which is great, because it's great to see kind of a
characters are so nuanced. Like, they have such nuanced takes and emotions. So good.
Yeah, but Heshai realizes that he's in servitude himself. He is completely enwrapped in a caste structure. He has to do what he is told, whether it's rip the cotton from all these bales in a warehouse or use it as a weapon of mass destruction on this other country that tried to infiltrate and take the corner of the market that they've acquired. Like he would have to, or the sad trade that he was forced to do, even though that every atom of his body from his past story, from his backstory, is screaming at him, you cannot do this. He himself is in servitude.
That's why it's so insidious, because Seedless is part of Heshai. Seedless knows exactly the thing to do that would be the worst possible thing for Heshai to have been complicit in. Yeah.
Ugh. Hey, Mitch had a good one in the chat.
Dr. Chase would be tweedless.
Hey, and good. Anita asked us who our favorite character is and why is it Ota?
Anita, you've read the whole series. Stop. Like I'm not sure. Well, I do really like Ota in this book.
I like Ota too, but I think from a character standpoint, I like Seedless. That's the whole concept was so just so unique and so different. And I love when books will do that for me. Give me something I've never seen before. And this just conceptually, I've never seen anything even close to this.
Yes.
Mati and Ota are two of my favorite characters in all of fantasy. Just because of how real Abraham makes them. And I love like Mati is infuriating with his naivete and his he loves Ota so much. Like he owes so much to Ota, but not enough to not sleep with his girlfriend. Like
but that's typical teenagers, though.
That's typical teenagers.
No, I know. The moment that kills me is when Mati can't keep it from Ota, and he has to confess. And he's talking about like, do you love her? He's like, I don't know, or like, I don't know. He's like, but you don't trust her, and he's like, no, I don't trust her. And he's like, and now you don't trust me either. And Ota says, no. And it's so heartbreaking because up to that point, Mati was the only thing that Ota had connecting him to his past that he didn't have to pretend with. And Mati betrayed him.
Yeah.
And yet the moment where Seedless vanishes, where he's like, hey, Mati, Ota's forgiven you, because Ota agrees, like goes through with it and saves Mati by doing the thing that Mati wanted him to do, which is, taking care of Heshai, that really Heshai also wanted him to do. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I don't know. In this book, I probably like Amat, but I think Heshai is just Shakespearean, and this is not the last time I'll say this with this series. Heshai is a Shakespearean tragic character. Like
absolutely. He's yes, that level.
Yeah. John, what about you?
Oh man. Okay. I do love Mati and Ota. I mean, okay, look, you start out with these two young boys at school in this enormous act of cruelty.
Did y'all figure out that Atani was Ota before?
No,
no.
I love that I didn't.
Until he drops the shoe.
Yeah. Me either.
That's what I'm talking about. At that moment, you could have, if it was not in a skill to hand, you'd have gone, oh, come on, that's awful convenient. But no, you went, oh, that's good. Of course. Why wouldn't these young people come to the main metropolitan area to find their way and find their life? And this one had checked out because he would push to that level of bullying, and he would have checked out.
No,
it all tracked for me. It all tracked for me. But I have to tell you, I suspect we're going to get plenty of Mati and Ota as they move forward through this world into the rest of the books. But the character for me who started in the bathhouse, in the business meetings in the bathhouse, that ends up having to this arc was phenomenal. I'm not great with names. I can't remember her name.
Amat Kian.
What an arc. You talk about a Shakespearean arc. Like, oh my God, what an
I
arc.
love Amat.
For this first book, she was my favorite character.
And such an unlikely hero, really.
I
mean,
truly
she's
thought
like-
she was a peripheral character.
She works like a desk job, basically, you know, and then she ends up almost as like this criminal mastermind just because she has to survive, you know, but she's not strong. She like, you know, had a broken hip.
She is strong. She goes
Yeah,
through entire
but not
metamorphosis
physically.
because of her idea of justice that she can't let go. The
Yeah.
pure strength of this woman is
Yeah.
astounding. And where she starts, I thought the character was the guy with all the power is sitting next to her in the bathhouse and not his
Wilson.
Yeah, not his functionary, but the way the wheels turned and what happened is the pressure of the wheels on this functionary and her realization and epiphanies and what she had to do for herself to rebuild herself and metamorphosize. She was the character for me anyway.
But you feel bad for Wilson too, because he doesn't want to do this any more than anybody. But he is a cast off of his family. He's like a lower member of his family. And so that's why they've shunted him over there. And he knows they don't have any problem killing him if he rats them out or doesn't do it.
No,
because that whatever. Who is the assassin? The one that is the one that pulls the wool over. It starts with an O. I'll look it up in a second. But Amat, you see, she's also tragic because you see what she's given up in her life for this house. And everything is falling apart. She never took a husband. She's never had kids. She's devoted her entire life has been House Wilson. And the fact that Wilson has betrayed her in this by engaging in this thing and her having to go through all of this to set it aright. It's every character's tragic. Every one of them.
Every character's tragic because when you're dealing with a setting that is this fully realized, that operates on this layer of stratifying its society and on this layer of everything begins and ends basically with capitalism, all the way from the magic system, all the way to all the motivations. This is a recipe for disaster. Every single character is tragic because they're in levels of servitude, whether it be Wilson, he can't do what he wants to do. Heshai, the Kayam, it doesn't matter. They're all in levels of expectations of society for their roles in this stratified city, beholden to capitalism. It's quite mind-bending when you really start breaking it
Ota
down.
hasn't been in control of his destiny since he was born because he's not the first son of the Kai.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so the only measure of freedom he's gotten, and this is what drives Liat insane. And this is where I just listener. It's just like standard teenager. She likes him, but she'd prefer to him to do something with his life. And the change that comes over Liat when she finds out that he's the Kai's son, all of a sudden, Itani. And it's like Liat. What? I know no one said their favorite character was Liat.
Nope.
And rightly so. Just bless her heart, but
teenage girl.
Bless her heart.
But you know what? I can empathize with her as well because once once her mentor was pulled away, had to flee, run for her life. She was so over her head. She had not a chance. And played like a violin.
Yeah, they used her as a
totally.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Wilson.
Hey,
another question in the chat. This is a good one to slide into this. Favorite part of world building? For
John's
me,
is the andat.
Yes, with hands down, not even close.
Yeah, it's either the andat, but I also keep going back to the language. I just love the way that, because for me, language is culture. And I think about this because, this is one of those high context languages, which, I learned that term the first time I went to Japan and I was studying Japanese just a little bit to try to get by, how it's a high context language, and coming from a place where we have a low context language, I had no idea what they were talking about. And for me, that is a level of just subtlety in the world building that I loved. So I'm going to throw that out as my favorite.
Oshai is the name of the guy who was working for the Gulfs, the one that was that was
The
fake
assassin?
translating for the poor Majid or whatever her name was.
Oh,
Yeah, it's one of those two. Like you guys named both of them, my
Mhm.
favorite parts of them. And it's done just so subtly and so well. When I took Japanese in college, had to come to grips with the fact that there's no plural. Like there's no plural. Like if you want to be specific, you need to use a number. Otherwise, like I and we are the same. Like in the verb, and cat and cats are the same. So I love it. Like I love that kind of stuff. I think English is, a little too specific sometimes. And the andat, I've never seen anything like the andat. I've still never seen anything like the andat, and all that stuff. The more you even learn about all of that, just makes it fascinating. It's one of my favorite.
I can't wait.
One of my favorite things in fantasy for sure.
Hey, we got to talk about the sad trade. We've got to talk about that moment. Like, I mean, oh my God, if this was ever adapted, or if you ever watched a scene, like, you would, audiences would be done. Like, that's it. I just can't keep going.
It's made so much worse by the fact that this girl has no idea what's about to happen.
Completely clueless.
Yeah.
She doesn't speak the language. She's just some poor girl that got knocked up, and she thinks that something else is happening, and she's being manipulated, and you see it coming. It's just a faraway train that you see, and you keep hoping that Amat's gonna interrupt this. Like something's gonna stop this.
Somebody's gonna stop this.
And like Anitha said, like Spencer said, he had to put down the book. After
oh my God, I did too. I was like, that's first of all, as a storyteller, you swung for the fences on that. Like you really went for an emotional.
And the way he ends it with her screaming, like you hear a ping in the pan, and then the screaming starts. He doesn't even have to be explicit.
Oh no,
and it's still so powerful.
Yeah. And where that character is going to go, if you want to talk about a revolutionary in the making for this stratified, driven by consumerism world, she's a good candidate.
Yeah, Majid she's got her hackles up for sure,
and she'll do anything at this point because I mean, I mean, to me, that scene is almost worse as like SA when you see that in books. This maybe the way it was written, but it almost felt as bad, if not worse. See, I could see the thing like Alan, you said, you've talked about people that bounced off of the first book. I could see that being a reason.
I could see that moment.
That's what I was saying. I've seen people give that as a reason, and that's the one that I do understand. Like it's a little too much. Like my wife could never, ever read that scene. Like she is too sensitive to that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And I could totally get that.
But there's also the horrific, just the absolute tragedy surrounding Heshai's death.
Yeah.
Ota comes and they talk, and so much is being unsaid where it's like, hey, you should lock your door. It's a dangerous area. Mm-hmm. And Heshai's like, yeah, I should get up and do that. And it's just understood that he's going to come back later, and the door's going to be unlocked.
Yep.
He's going to be passed out drunk, and Heshai's
he's going to make sure he is. He's going to make sure he's passed out.
Yep, because Heshai understands that it's out of control now. If he doesn't do this, Galt's going to get wiped out. Like, he will be forced to be complicit in a genocide.
Yeah, but also, don't you feel like Heshai is just I'm done. I'm at the
absolutely.
I'm at the end of my journey. Personally, me, I can't continue.
Yeah, and
I love the scene with Seedless and Mati. How that happened? How Seedless, like there was a moment of awareness, and then he was just gone.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Like whoa.
and that whole discussion with them where Mati is so enraged at Seedless for what he's done, and he's like, "Well, why don't you forgive me?" And it's like, "Well, if Ota had done something, would you forgive him?" And Mati's like, "Well, it's not the same." And Seedless like, "It's because you love Ota and you don't love me." And Mati's like, "Yeah, it is. And so he's like, "So love trumps justice. You need justice until someone you love is involved." At that point, you don't have to have justice.
Yeah.
And Mati's like, yeah, I guess that.
But it's even think about this, Alan. It's like, it's that old saying. It's like, you know, when it happens to me, it's a tragedy. When it happens to you, it's comedy.
Oh, yeah,
It's like, you know, it's like Seedless is saying, you just personalize this, personalize it.
Mhm.
If it were, you know, of course you can't forgive me. Of course you can't love me. Personalize it in your own life, and you can see, hold up a mirror and personalize it. And he's just showing him how much of an othering thing that is happening to him.
And he also points out that Mati wants Ota to forgive him for sleeping with Liat.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Mati, you're craving forgiveness that you refuse to give me.
Yeah.
What did you think about how Seedless just had this weird connection with Mati?
Yeah,
Because like a couple times, like when they were like when he would put things in motion, it's like, don't touch, you know, like he was really mad when Mati might have got hurt when they got attacked in the street and everything, and he was just like, don't touch this, and don't touch this kid, and it was only like his only explanation was just like, I kind of like him.
It's because Mati treated him like a person, especially before I love the fact that he plays with our expectations there, where this, like, we would expect someone wielding this kind of power to be this flowing, beautiful, like, you know, untouchable person. And turns out that's Seedless, and Heshai looks like a frog. Heshai is just this ugly little stout man. But Mati didn't treat Seedless like a thing until Seedless does this sad trade thing, and then Mati's enraged. And I think Seedless has regret that he lost Mati's affection when he did that. Everything's so layered, everything's so nuanced, guys. It's just such good writing.
Yeah, and it's also, don't lose track of, it's almost, it has all the trappings of an amazing familial drama. I mean, if Heshai being a patriarch and his young mentor coming in very much like a son, going to be raised at the last bit of his educational journey with him, and then here's Seedless, who has been my put upon son for years and years and years. So the sibling rivalry that happens from there, and the understanding as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And I love how, so we talked about this right before we went on, that you get a love triangle.
Yes.
That is okay. Because it felt realistic. It felt so realistic because the teenagers felt realistic.
Yes.
But I always push back at the love triangle thing anyway, because I think anything can be done well.
Exactly. I completely agree with you, Josh. Like,
you know, King Arthur had a love triangle.
Yes.
A great one.
I mean, so many great stories have a love triangle, and it's like, all of these tropes can be done if they're done well. And this, because of the character motivations tracked, you're watching where they are in their life and what's happening with, I mean, I saw it coming as soon as Ota was checking out to leave. It's like, nah, I got it. There's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem, because it makes perfect sense for people of their age going through what they're going through, having no one near them that understands where they are and what they're going through. They're going to be pulled together. It's going to happen. Like, it is a fait accompli. It's going to happen.
I mean, you see this, John, as someone in the theater, you see this all the time.
Oh my God.
All the time. Relationships that were established before the play break, and they are new ones are established within the play, because there are people being put in intense situations for frequent periods of time, and that is just what happens to people who, like, that. This just happens. Like, and these are immature kids. And I see people complaining about the love triangle, which I understand, because I also don't like love triangles in basically anything, except for the fact that Abraham has handled it in such a realistic way that I cannot like it, because I don't like people doing that.
It's unsavory. It's
correct.
It
is handled well. Ota's 20. And the others are teenagers. Yeah. And they're young people. And like you said, they're going through intense situations that they don't know who they are. These people do not know who they are. They are trying to find they're trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
And
In and amongst life and death stakes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But
So
even Ota as the 20-year-old, he doesn't know what he's doing.
no.
He's still trying to figure it out.
His
He-
life
yeah.
was
Even when he
simple
quit,
until Mati came along.
He's checked out to a large extent.
well, and I
he's
think
checked
even
out.
early in the book when it was in the prologue when he quit, his training to be a poet. I think even then he didn't really know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then he's just been kind of marking time, basically, doing these laborer jobs or whatever.
I'm sure you guys kind of felt this when you were younger. I mean, I distinctly remember when I was younger, I made decisions and I did things, big life decisions, because it was what was expected of me. In my progression of a good young man at that time, this is what was time for me to do. And those are the decisions I made. So you can track these young kids going through, they have no clue who they are.
Yeah.
Except Ota has checked out, honestly, from when he ran from school. He's pretty much living off the grid.
But Mati has this hero worship of Ota because Ota was probably one of the only friends he, even though they weren't friends, like showed him some kindness.
Right.
After shoving his face in the dirt, making him eat dirt.
And oh my God. And then in a large way, having the strength of character to check out and run and live off the grid after that happened. Whereas I stayed and became what I was expected to become.
Yeah. And I think Ota has some regret in that, like he sees what Mati and what he could be. But I do like the scene when he goes back to the Daikvo's village, and the Daikvo is now his old master.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, just freaking get out of my sight. Like you're still.
Yeah. I loved how that scene it totally subverted my expectations. So I thought it might be this really emotional homecoming and hey, maybe you can come back in the fold or whatever. And it was the total opposite of that. And it was just so much more real.
Yeah.
But they were going to give him a mulligan. Like they were going to go like, you can be everything.
Because they saw something in Ota, but
absolutely. You can be everything you're expected to be. It should be you. You come back, prodigal son.
You get the sense
he still retains the strength of character to go, I can't give that much of myself away.
Yeah, the Daikvo, you can see that he's pissed that Mati is the one that's there. It's like this, we had to make do with Mati because you freaking left.
Yeah.
And what's gonna happen there? Like that portends poorly.
Yeah. So
because didn't Mati tried at the end to bind Seedless and just realized he wasn't ready for it.
Couldn't do it.
And they established that Seedless was going to be hard if Heshai didn't transfer him over. So Mati's there to learn how to do it so that because Andat can be transferred, he has to bind Seedless in the current form. But as long as he's currently bound, if he is unbound, he has to try to rebind him in a different way. And Mati just they had already established that Seedless was going to be hard to rebind if he didn't get it handed off from Heshai. Such good stuff.
Very, very good.
I see. For me to people say this is, it's nothing happens, it's boring. I don't get that. It's a beautiful amalgamation of fabulous literature and true human emotionality and tragedy and motivation. It's such a great interweaving of the two. And for those people that say, I can't read fantasy, it's just made up stuff. And it's like, this is a true human tragedy that tracks on every level of the story. It just has that vein of fabulism running through it that makes it so much fun.
John, this could be a play.
Oh, you could stage this. Absolutely.
The way you were just talking, this could absolutely be a stage play.
I mean, this is a combination of Falstaff.
We need to write
Neil
Abraham and see if he'd give us the go ahead to write this as a script. That would be amazing.
It would be phenomenal.
I'm so eager to see what you guys think of the characters in book 2. They're just the characters in every book are just great. They're so good. So
you said it's 16 years. You said
16 years.
Wow.
Every book is 16 years in the future.
Wow.
So I'm so excited. I'm so glad you guys liked it. I'm so glad you guys liked it.
I can't believe you would think we wouldn't. Like, that's shocking to me.
I look. I don't ever think anybody's going to like anything that I like. that is just my default. That's my baseline. And so many people, a bunch of people have tried this series on my recommendation and have really loved it. But also several people have tried it and not liked it at all. Bounced off the first one. I have a friend that read the first one and read the second one and I think DNF the second one, just bounced off it, which I get. But this is one of my favorite series, so I love it.
I can totally see why. I can't imagine when I've gone through all 4 of these that it doesn't make my list somewhere, because it's a true achievement. I mean,
I love the 4th book. Kathy, the 4th book was she finished it today, and Kathy said 4th was her least favorite, which I have seen that before, but it's not common. Usually people really like the last 2 books. So yeah, Mitch, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Kai. Kai bounced off the first and second one. But yeah, so I'm eager to continue this journey. So excited.
Oh, me too.
I'm really excited. I'm excited to see where the world is.
Yes,
because this is such a huge event. See what the fallout is.
Yeah,
and then also, of course, just seeing where the characters find themselves with such a big time jump.
Yeah,
because there's so many different ways that you could approach that and kind of predict their future. And I imagine because of Ota's backstory that, there's still going to be this connection between at least the 3 of them going forward.
I would sure think so.
What I will say, Abraham handles time skips better than we don't have a bunch of flashbacks. You get some people will throw out comments about stuff that's happened in the intervening time, and yet it feels like he has filled in all of that gap. He gives us exactly what we need to know about what's happened in that gap because again, it stays economical. Like it's the books are short. So
how does he do that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm convinced he does it by he's laser focused on the human drama. And all the fabulous andats and everything else is it's inciting incident, window dressing, but the laser focus of each scene is truly tragedy and human drama.
Well, I think there's also there's an economy, just an economical way that he's writing here, that there's no fat.
No,
even some of the greatest fantasy series that, like they could have had a stronger editor, or they should have had a stronger editor. I think that's part of it, but I think, just going back to with the world building, for me, just the use of the language was able to, with all the poses and everything, was able to just shorten so much of dialogue and scenes like that, because you can convey an emotion in half a sentence, whereas you would need 3 or 4 lines of dialogue to do that. So I think that lent into it as well. I also think the plot is still, kind of small. I mean, it's far flung, but it is very focused. So, but still, it's still masterful. I mean, like when 300 pages versus 700, which is kind of like the norm nowadays for a book 1 in a fantasy series. I mean,
500-600 would be short, right? 500-600 will be short.
When y'all are finished with the series, go watch my interview of Daniel Abraham, because every interview of him is always talking about The Expanse. But we talk about Long Press Quartet and for an extended period of time, because I wanted to know all the stuff that like, tell me about Long Press Quartet. So he has some really cool insights into his writing of that series. Really cool.
That was probably refreshing for him too.
Yeah, probably was.
All the time.
So
always Expanse.
What's the Kithimer series and the Dagger and Coin? Like
Dagger and Coin is a traditional fantasy with Daniel Abraham characters.
So this is his vibe every time. This is
Dagger and Coin. Many of my favorite fantasy characters are from Daniel Abraham's, because they are just so incredibly memorable. I have not read Robin Hobb, so I cannot speak to hers.
You should, Alan. You should.
eventually I'm going to get there. People don't know if I'm going to like Assassin's Apprentice or not. Like it's
Oh, you
about
won't.
50-50.
It'll infuriate you, but you will see the value. You'll see
But
the merit.
it's also like something you said which is present with these teenagers here.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
Fitz, you'll learn Fitz is an idiot.
Yeah, but he's a
real.
kid.
Yeah. But he's real. So
Yeah, but Dagger and Coin is about economic systems and just the power of like the power of manipulated truth. And then the Kithamar series takes place over the same year from 3 different characters' perspectives. And it is also fascinating in a completely different way and with the same kind of really in-depth characters. So good. Abraham his character work is he's probably my favorite character writer. So good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, there are scenes and there are characters in this that when I was reading, I was like, I would love to play that. I would love to play that moment. Like that's what I know I'm all in is when I'm
gonna email him. I'm gonna have his email address. I'm gonna email him, John, and be like, hey, just off the like, if we just on a lark wanted to fan write a script of this series, like, would that be okay? And he'll probably be like, yeah, knock yourself out, bud.
I don't care. Whatever. Stop bothering me.
Dude, I know. John, you have to be Marchot Wilson in this book. Like he's the only one of there's no one else you could be. I mean,
no, I know.
You could be Heshai.
We could dirty him up and make him Heshai. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm the wrong cultural background for any of these good characters.
You got to wait for the
fact is, when you read it, I mean, I'm sure you felt the same way, Alan. You read it and you go, oh, I'd love to sink my teeth into that. It's a great moment.
Absolutely. You got to wait for the older books, John. You'd be perfect for some of the books where, because me too. I don't have anybody playing that book in that one either. Right. It's a young person's game.
Hold off. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Spencer asked for predictions. Obviously, Alan can't make any.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I don't know if I have any predictions. I do have hopes. I hope that we get Amat a little bit at least because she was kind of old. I hope that we still see her in some manner.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous if we have a 16-year jump. That's
yeah, just because of the age, because she was like 50, I would guess, in that book. So
she's middle-aged though. She's not ancient.
Yeah.
Oh, true. So there we go. I don't know if I have any predictions. I mean, I can't imagine where this story might go. I mean, where is Ota going to be? I mean, he's kind of searching. I would imagine that there's probably going to be some turmoil from a national standpoint with these 2 countries.
Remember that Ota has that letter of introduction for the mail service.
Yeah. Like the Freighter Guild or whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we'll see him in a different setting.
So he can see the world a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would definitely hope. Here's what I think I'm absolutely going to get. I think I'm going to get past his prelude. We already kind of got that nod from the prologue and then moving on into this first book. And I think what we're going to see is these 2 young men, Mati and Ota, reflected in the most tumultuous upheaval of power shifts in this world. And they're going to live through it. And what they've been through as young people together is going to make and color every decision they do moving forward. And as we move forward with them, I'm going to start to see and identify more and more with them as world weary and tired and seasoned men with what they've been through and what they've seen. And I can't wait for that journey. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I think we're going to get.
Well, y'all feel free to send me, if you just got to spout off thoughts while you're reading book 2, message me.
You'll do.
Happy to hear it. I like every one of these books. Like I like every one of these books. Great character work in this too. Great character work. So I'm excited for y'all to see what is to come.
Are you going to reread 2, 3, and 4, Alan?
I'm rereading all of them. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I, like Josh, had to stop myself from picking up book 2. Yeah, I'm rereading with y'all.
because I know you got everyone's got a huge stack. So, you know, I had to
Doesn't
ask.
matter. Like I have to. I've been trying to reread this series for a couple years now, so this is my opportunity to do so. Just because, like, just rereading book one, I'm like, it's exactly as good as I remember. Like, it's even better, you know. So yeah, I'm excited.
But even with full TBRs, I mean, it's easy to fit in 300-page book versus a 700-page book. So
yeah, for sure. And the beauty of this, like this, guys, I just so much love for both of you to do this together and to be able to come together and talk after each one and send messages during. It makes it so special.
Oh, for sure.
Like it's so special.
Yeah.
I always say when I have these talks, it always just enriches my reading experience.
Yes.
Just seeing to bounce my ideas and hear everybody else's takes and hearing different perspectives, and you know, the people in the chat that add to the discussions as well. So yeah, this definitely do this each book for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
So anyone in the chat that's wants to reread with us, we got A Betrayal in Winter. Is that the name of
Betrayal in
it?
Winter.
One up this month. John, you said you're starting next week. I'm gonna read it middle of the month. I have this other fantasy installment called Midnight Tides up next, so that's gonna take about a week.
that's a chunker.
Yeah, so this will be mid-month for me when I get to this one. But anyway, thank you both of you for hanging out today. Thank you those of you that hung out in the chat today. And if you're on Team Replay, drop us a comment below. And then, you know, if you've never read this, go read it. And
oh my God, right away, right away.
Read it.
Absolutely.
Yes, Brian.
Yes, Brian.
Oh, he got here just in time.
Brian was sending me his thoughts as he was reading the series, and it was so I was just like, yes, Brian. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, everybody. Thank you for hanging out, and we will see you on the next one.